mainly to to online events. We were very used to have some live events, which of course on this last year it's been a challenge to adapt, and it has we have found lots of advantages and rewards, as is in this occasion in which we can have a speaker such as Cyrille Carriere, which is gonna give us some perspective about European assets. And this will be possible at all if we weren't on this online, in this new online environment of webinars. So we are delighted to have Cyrille with us today, and we hope that you enjoyed this conversation, and that you keep following us on the Civil Society Mexico events for further events that we are organizing for the rest of the year. We are right now fully online, and after for the future, we probably will have some mixed events, about some of them being online, some of them hopefully in not a long time live events, and this is the new environment that we are all getting used to. And Cyrille Carriere is the president of director of is the director of investments, co-founder of and he manages the funds of Lombia Capital. The funds are Lombia Avenir Midcap Euro, Lombia Avenir Midcap Europe, and up to 2020 he manages the strategies of equity of small and mid-cap Euro and Europe, which manage the funds, the Group Avenir Euro, the G Fund Avenir Europe. Both of them are 5 stars at Morningstar, and the total asset volume that they manage has gone up by 70 million euros from March 2012 up to 4,000 million euros to August 2020. The fund Groupama Avenir has had a 309% versus a 131% of its benchmark between 26 March 2012 and 18 September 2020. And the G Fund Avenir Europe has had 137% versus 52 of its benchmark from the date it began, December 14, 2014, and 18 September 2020. And under Cyrille leadership, these two funds had 45 awards from Refinitiv Liper Funds Award at 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. It has been an award that they have got 6 consecutive times in the category of the best performance on 3 years. Carriere has also received several awards on the management, the Grand Prix of Finance 2020 for the best funds in the category of small cap and mid cap on Europe, and it has been classified repeatedly as a Citywire asset manager AA and AAA. He started his profession in 1998 at Rothschilds and Company as a finance analyst. On 2007, he went up to Barclays Wealth Managers at Paris as VP, and he has been asset fund manager of mid cap at the Eurozone, at Euro Barclays small cap, and Barclays Euro Equity small and mid at 2008. 2012, he is director of of equities and convertible bonds at Groupama Asset Management, and Cyrille Carriere has a Master of Finance and ESCP, and he studied economics on the Université Paris at Sorbonne. So Cyrille, it's quite a pleasure to have you here with our charterholder Mexican community, Mexican and Latin community, as there are some people of the audience that come here from the different Spanish-speaking regions. So we were more than happy to hear about what's happening in Europe. How would you feel the investment, the investment environment, and about your experience on these last years at Colombia, and feel welcome. And I give you the microphone so you can go about with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this for this introduction. Could we have the presentation? That's great. Just back. This is it. And then I will ask you for the control. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. So, you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, as you mentioned, I'm a specialist of the European and small and mid caps equities, and I've been managing European small and mid cap funds since 2008. And when was asked a presentation regarding the European small and mid caps, I said maybe we can have not talking about the funds, but really to present you a vision of Europe and how Europe is able to create innovation and transform local leaders into worldwide players. Because yeah, that was the angle we choose to present you. And you mentioned my background, but just to summarize it, I've been in the asset management business for more than 23 years, starting as a financial analyst, as you said, for 10 years before becoming a fund manager in European small and mid caps. And it is this experience where I was able to study all kinds of sectors and business models that allow me to understand the interest of this specific asset class, the small and mid caps, for its richness in terms of innovation and its capacity to see strong industrial stories emerge, and as an obvious place for those who want to invest in a patrimonial approach of long-term investment. And long-term investment is really a key notion for me, because I've always considered the market to be inefficient in the short term, like the volatile events that we are experiencing in these years of pandemic. And it was the same in 2018 or in 2016. A lot of volatility exacerbated by derivatives and all those structured products that you know. And but the market is very efficient in the long term, and the companies that grow and can create operational value for their shareholders see it reflected over the long term in the appreciation of their stock prices and market cap. So long-term investing, thus for us, is really the way to escape the short-term volatility created by all those exogenous factors over which we have no control, by focusing on companies that are focused on long-term growth, that are able to increase their revenue, their operating income, their cash flow generation, by positioning themselves in good markets and pursuing growth-oriented strategies through product innovation, R&D, investment in human capital, deployment to new client verticals, to geographic expansion. And the universe of small and mid caps, I think everywhere, is truly ideal for this, as it is the place for innovation, or where new technologies and new business models are created in all sectors. And this is really the sweet spot for identifying companies that are no longer concept stock, industrial concept stocks, that have already good product on good markets, and that have the right management to define their strategy, and that will benefit from expansion and growth acceleration phases. And these are companies in which we can invest, and then we can accompany them as long-term investor, finance them if needed, if they want to grow abroad, for instance, to enter a new geography, and benefit from the value created over the long term. And moreover, I think that what is really exciting in the current period is that there is never so much innovation in those sectors. It's very, very impressive. In the medical sector, it's very, very amazing the kind of growth that we can have in Europe, and the speed of diffusion of innovation is really incredible, and it's accelerating. And this is also obvious in the digital space. We are currently facing very different growth profile that when I start in this business over 20 years ago. That's very, very clear. And let's come back to Europe and small and mid cap. If Europe is known worldwide for its luxury companies and its good wines, it's also rich in innovation. It's not just a low growth area. There's a lot of innovation. It has been able to build large pharma groups that are worldwide known, powerful industrial knowledge in the aeronautic area with Airbus, for instance, and in automotive space, of course, you know, all the famous brand that we have. And this is on these strong know-how that Europe has been able to see emerging real richness of innovation and very strong growth stocks in the field of medical tech, factory and logistics automation, digital innovation. Actually, digital innovation is really very interesting because it's deployed in all sectors and is in itself a source of growth acceleration in all areas. And let's move to a map of Europe. When I talk about Europe, I'm concentrating on Western Europe, my area of investment. So you have the countries of the Eurozone with France, Italy, Spain, Portugal. In the southern part of Europe, you have Germany, and then out of the Eurozone, you have the Switzerland, you have the UK, which decided to go it alone, as you know, with its exit from the European Union that occurred this year, and no, it was last year, and the Nordic countries, namely Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark. And you know the industrial strength of Germany. Germany is really the king of the industry in the world. And there's a specificity in Germany, which is the Mittelstand, as they call it. It's a multitude of small companies with niche positions and best-in-class technology in their field. They are the the champions of the German model of made in Germany. And those companies understood very early on that it was necessary to have this kind of niche positioning in terms of technology in order to be able to seek growth outside of Europe and to have the capacity to deploy globally. Because and that's really the mindset that a lot of companies in our countries have. And we also have this kind of company in Switzerland, for instance, or in the north of Italy, and in a lesser extent in France. And but the area that I find particularly innovative in Europe are the Nordic countries, the Sweden and Denmark in the first place. And those countries are clearly ahead of the rest of Europe in many areas and on many subjects. And the first of all is they are very ahead of the rest of Europe in terms of digitalization of the economy, and from government to companies. It's very, very impressive. And those are countries where technological innovation is really very impressive. I said in the digital sector, in the medical tech sectors, with a very impressive know-how, and there's a profusion of new companies focused on growth, and it's an area that is interesting because it has a real know-how in transforming research for work from a university into a commercial company, and that's very, very, very interesting. So let's start with the focus on the medical technology sector. It's for me truly a perfect sector with companies that are that have very high added value know-how, real niche leadership positions, and clear international development capabilities, primarily in the US, as you know that the US is the world's leading market for medical tech, and also in Asia, where developments are today very fast. And these companies have the capacity to present strong growth prospects, high margins, strong capacity to invest in their future growth. And Europe's richness in this sector is really evident in the field of medical diagnostic, for instance, in the field of equipment used by a large pharma group to search and produce new drugs, new generation drugs, in the field of the biotech industry, for instance, in the field of gene therapy or new generation vaccines, such as the messenger RNA-based vaccines that we have. That is really fantastic innovation. And the list is long in terms of a number of innovative companies that we have in Germany, France, or in the Nordics. I will start by a very good example of how a European company can become a global leader. And here you have a company called Sartorius Stedim. And it's a company that produces, as you can see, production equipment for the biotech and for the vaccines. So it's a full upstream, downstream equipment. So to start the culture media preparation to the final product. And the specificity that the company has is a single-use technology, where for each production batch that you want to produce, as you can see here, you remove the complete circuit of polymer bags, tubing, filters, and so on that are into the machines, into the fermentator, as shown in the slide, and so that you can avoid any risk of contamination. So if you want to start a new batch of production of a different drug, there's no risk for contamination, and it has become a standard for the market. Very, very interesting, and this no. There's a missing slide. Yeah. There's a missing slide in the presentation, surprising. So yeah, I would say it, like this. So this small company founded under the name of Stedim in a village of the south of France. The company, which was acquired by Germans, Sartorius in Germany, the company has succeeded in developing thanks to its single-use technology in Europe, and then accelerate its deployment towards the United States, starting in 2012. With the arrival of the first generation of generics for biological drugs that is called biosimilars, where Stedim's single-use equipment were perfectly suited for medium volume batch production. And after several years of very strong growth in the US and a significant change in size, the company has been expanding towards Asia since 2018, with the development of new production capacities in Asia Pacific. And the year 2020 has been particularly impressive for the company, with fantastic growth dynamic, with an acceleration of its sales in all its geographies. And the company has benefited from a strong demand in connection with the development of drugs in the field of biotech, new generation drugs such as gene therapy, and also the immense need in terms of production for COVID-19 vaccines, including the new messenger ultra-innovative vaccine messenger RNA based. And after a record year in terms of growth in 2020, the company has already set initial growth target for this year of plus 38%. It has moved its 2025 sales target from 2.8 billion to 4 billion. And that's, for me, really a perfect illustration of the dynamics of innovation and the acceleration of the diffusion of innovation that we have in this field, with company, once again, that start as a European player and then move to the US, then to Asia, with a lot of supportive driver of growth. Let's move to a more global slide for the medical tech business in Europe. You can see here, for instance, on the bottom of the slide, in the field of new therapies, next to Sartorius, we have this Danish company called Chemometec, which design cell counting equipment with a lot of digital innovation in it, softwares and sensors and those kinds of things that are also used in research and the production of biotech drugs and gene therapy drugs. We can, on the right, you have a couple of names in the field of medical diagnostic, which are at the forefront of the coronavirus detection, with a very, very impressive company in Italy, Carriere, for instance, or we have the French Eurofins. And another company that is really this kind of Nordic high-tech names, Rambu, another Danish company that is one of the first company, if not the first, to have developed single-use endoscopes, and is clearly the leaders in this field today. And those single-use endoscopes, which, like for Sartorius, again, avoid the risk of contamination due to the inefficiency of the cleaning of common endoscopes, have proven to be a lot of interest during the global pandemic, and have been used massively in ICU, intensive care units, to look at the condition of the lungs of COVID-19 patients. I won't go through all the names. I will move to some names in the field of ophthalmology. And here again, we have really worldwide leaders in that field. The first one is a very interesting company called Carl Zeiss Meditech, a German one. That's a great innovation company that produce diagnostic and surgical equipment for eye surgery and also for the brain microsurgery. It's very impressive, very high-tech name. And it's really the example of a company that is able to invest R&D years and years and years after years with expectation of very long-term return on investment, because the products will be maybe launched within 3, 5, 7 years, but then the duration of those products will be very long. In particular, it has developed a unique refractive surgery technology to correct vision and no longer have to wear glasses, which is minimally invasive and has become the industry standard in the world. And it has enabled the company to develop strongly out of Europe, and first of all in Asia, where actually China and South Korea are the main the main area in terms of sales for those guys, as ASEAN suffer a lot from myopia, and this type of surgery is very common there. It's not that common in Europe or in the US, but it's very common in Asia. The company now is now aiming to deploy this technology in the US, and that should help the company to go ahead with this very long-term growth journey. And on the next slide, here, another example of those kind of small country, high-tech names is the Finnish company from Finland, and still in the ophthalmic diagnostic. And this one has developed a unique tonometer technology for the diagnosis of glaucoma when you have high pressure in the eye. And thanks to this, once again, very unique technology, the company has been able to deploy abroad very, very rapidly. And that's really the good example of this kind of niche technology that we are in Europe try to focus on. Another view, a global overview of the European medical tech, a few names that I talk about in terms of internationalization, just to show you that indeed what is very important for all those names has been the ability to go out of Europe and to move to the US, and you can see that because it's the goal for the business, and you can see that all those names are very, very. Sometimes it's even the first area of in terms of business for them, and it's really key in terms of growth. On the right side of the slide, you can see that Carl Zeiss and Vitrolife. Vitrolife is a Swedish company that is one of the 3 leaders in the field of in vitro fertilization to help women to have babies. And here again, it's a bit like the Carl Zeiss product for the eye surgery. The penetration rates of this kind of technology or product is far higher in Asia compared to what we have, for instance, in Europe or in the US. It's even lower for Vitrolife. So it's really interesting to show that, of course, Europe is not a huge growth area in terms of demography and those kind of things, but we have this mindset of going abroad to look for growth with high-tech positioning. Then, digital innovation. The other sector that I find particularly interesting in software and digital innovation in the broader sense. And I will start, first of all, on the left of the slides, you have a couple of names in the industrial software side. And I've been invested into a company for a very, very, very long time called Nemetschek Group. Nemetschek Group is a very good example of a European company in this area. It's German, once again. And the company is active in the field of 3D design software for the architects. And the company benefit actually from a high potential market position with all those architects and construction players that are really accelerating their investment in digital technology to optimize their production processes. You know that construction industry is well known for its delays and cost overruns. That's really typical, and it's the kind of sectors that are lagging in terms of technological investment compared to, for instance, aerospace or the automotive industry. So very interesting. The company starts as a 3D design software only for the architects, And then the company has pursued a strategy of acquisition, of deployment by acquisition, geographically, with the company entering the US market, and as well as along the industry value chain, adding softwares dedicated to the construction sectors, and then softwares dedicated to the management of the building, the operation, to operate the buildings once they are built. And then out of the architect or AEC industry, we talk about also Hexagon and Aveva. Hexagon is a Swedish name, Aveva is a UK name, and those ones are have really benefited from the historical know-how of the Europeans in the industrial field. And they have very, very strong 3D design software for factories. With those software, you can really simulate, create your factories virtually, and you can also, of course, simulate the production processes in all sectors. And yeah, surprising. I don't know why it moves like this. Sorry. Some problems with the yes, and another name is Machine Machine, a small cap in Germany, which, like Hexagon, he offers a computer aided design software to help to create the piece that you want to produce. And those ones are really high growth, high margin, strong international deployment capacity, and high returns on capital employed. As of course, you know that there is no need to have tangible assets, as the softwares are intangible by nature. So you can have a super high return on capital employed, and the ability to move very fast in terms of deployment, and that's really an obvious area if you want to look for those, to search for those companies that you can that will create structurally value over the long term. As I said, these players like Hexagon or Aveva have real global positions and very international customers, such like the medical names that I talk about. On the right side of the slide, beyond software for industry, you have also endless variety of innovation in the field of digital transition of any aspect of the economy, actually. And on the right, you have a couple of names that are more administrative software to automate and digital production and sale processes within companies such as, for instance, we have a French company called Esquerre with solutions. Sorry, my screen is black. Yeah, that make it possible to digitize and automate all back office operation, all the billing, the ordering, the payment for your clients. That is very, very helpful in this time of lockdown. As you know, for instance, in Paris, we are in a lockdown situation where everybody is working from home, actually. So to have this kind of solutions to make it possible to digitalize all the relation that you have with your customers and suppliers, it's very, very, very helpful. And we have other names like Lime or Fortnox. Lime is a Swedish company that is specialized in CRM, customer relationship management software for the SMEs, for small companies. And Fortnox, a very interesting name in Sweden, which is a small SAP, a small enterprise resource planning software for SMEs. And this one, Fortnox, for instance, has been able to plans to multiply by 4 its turnover for the next 5 years, within the next 5 years, and that's a proof of the incredible growth that we can have in this kind of segment. And the company has multiplied by its turnover by 5 over the last 5 years, and actually this is EBITDA by 10 over the last 5 years. So super strong diffusion of the digital innovation, and I think that what we had in Europe, and I suppose it's worldwide the same, the speed of deployment and diffusion of the digital innovation, this kind of software has really increased during the pandemic. It's I think it's very impressive. In the bottom of the slide, you have those software in the medical space, and that's also a very interesting segment because of course those softwares help to optimize the functioning of all the health systems, the hospitals, to manage the patient data for the doctors, and here again we have good companies with very interesting profiles in Europe. One of the biggest one is Compute Group. It's a family-owned business in Germany, but the company is the European leader in software for doctors. Or we have Nexus, for instance, which is a major player in software for hospitals. And while investment needs in the field of healthcare systems have proven their relevance, have been very relevant in terms of organization, patient monitoring, medication monitoring during the pandemic, all the COVID-19 management. It is also a major source of cost savings for governments and states. And in Europe, significant efforts are to come in this field. And both at the level of the European recovery plans, you know that a recovery plan focusing on innovation has been voted by the European Union for its plan of 750 billion euros. It's small compared to the US, but it's still huge for Europe. And at the level of individual countries, and such as the German plan for the digitalization of hospitals in Germany for more than 4 billion euros. And for which a player like Nexus should benefit, for example. You have to know that Germany is the king of the industry, but it's is lagging compared to other European countries in terms of digitalization. So they have to increase their spending in that specific area. And if these companies are still very European, and have sufficient growth prospect in Europe, some of them already have significant presence on the American market, such as the French company Esquire talk about. The US is already 40% of their sales, and for instance, Compute Group has become now the number 4 in terms of software for doctors in the US after a couple of recent acquisitions. So really very interesting prospect for that area. Yeah, let's move on to automation. If we talk about digital data, another key area is the automation of industry and logistics. And I start as a financial analyst, and during my 2 first years as a financial analyst, I was specialized on industry and was really passionate about robotics after having visited most of the automotive factories in Europe. And seeing all those cars in construction moving by themselves on their automated guided platforms, it's called AGVs, and from line to line at Mercedes or even Ferrari, and those production robots equipped with optical systems to analyze the accuracy of their positioning and to check for the quality of the assembly. And I've really seen it was more than 20 years ago, but I've seen the exponential development of robotics and automation that helped to really improve a lot efficiency and production processes, being in terms of saving in costs, raw materials, waste, and time, of course. And our companies in Europe are clearly among the best in the world in these fields and equip factories around the world, actually. And whatever one thinks about Tesla and its valuation and those kind of things, the fact remains that its cars are assembled by KUKA robots built in Germany. Even KUKA now is under Chinese ownership, but still you have those orange robots from KUKA everywhere in the world. And the other exciting development in automation is Industry 4.0, or the Internet of Things, which is the ability for every object or within a factory, every machine or every robot to generate production data, communicated to a central system that will collect, analyze, and use it to optimize the operation of the factory. And for example, for its simplest use, which is the predictive maintenance. And more generally, we are seeing an increasing convergence between hardware, software, with companies integrating the upstream design, simulation, software of products, as I showed previously during the software part, and process to build them, and the downstream, the ability to build and manage this production process, as in the case of Hexagon, for example, where the massive integration of software has enabled the group skills and profile to be considerably transformed in a couple of years towards a more technological company and less industrial one. And thus the company growth profile and margins and results change a lot in a couple of years. And I have this slide I find really interesting. Is really the idea of this fusion of the upstream downstream, meaning that Hexagon, for instance, is providing all those software for the computer-aided design, manufacturing, engineering to create the piece that you want to produce. Then the software to create the facility, to produce it, and then the tools, the sensors, the scanners that will be directly on the production line, as I said, to check the quality of surfaces, or to check the quality of the assemblies on an automotive production line, for instance. But a lot of those sensors or optical scanners, for instance, are used in the consumer electronics. And for instance, in the production line of Foxconn or the iPhones, there are European machine vision systems like those ones that are used to check for the quality of the assembly, the quality of the surface of those high-end smartphones. And yeah, that's very impressive. Yeah. As all those technologies are used in Asia and China for the production of all those consumer electronics. And of course, companies like Hexagon, for instance, benefited from the reopening of China that has somehow decoupled for the rest of the world, as since May, I would say, there's a reopening in China, and Hexagon has been able to show good growth, good strong recovery, thanks to precisely that part of its business in China. Another example, then, yes, Interroll. The idea here is that the factory automation know-how has been transformed into a know-how in warehouse and logistic automation. And the logistic automation is really at the heart of the needs of the exponential development of e-commerce and the desire that we have to be delivered even faster. It's very impressive in China or in Europe. You want to have a 24-hour delivery of anything that you order online. It's crazy. And here again, we have a couple of leading European companies to support these ever increasing investments in all those sorting centers and other automated three-dimensional warehouses. And one example is Interroll, and I really like this company very much. I've been invested in this one for a very long time. And that's a Swiss company that produce high performance systems as shown, and components for sorting centers and warehouses, such as conveyors, sorters, and storage equipment, and all in a modular platform format that allows for great flexibility and ease of installation. So it's like a giant Meccano or giant Lego, if you see what I mean. And the idea is that you just plug in each piece of equipment, and the software platform automatically integrates it. So that's fantastic to invest in those kind of products. And the company has global customers in all sectors of logistics, and as of course customers in the field of e-commerce, as Amazon, for instance. And no, sorry, I moved too fast. And taking advantage of the favorable dynamics of its logistics customer markets, the company is pursuing a growth strategy that combines, as I always say, innovation in terms of product and geographic expansion. And for example, during the pandemic, the company finalized the construction of a new plant in the US, in Atlanta, that allow the company to have a very strong rebound in terms of order intake during the second half. The order intake grew by 22%, and one of the reasons was the fact that this Atlanta plant was open, and has continued its development in Asia, with the construction of plants in Thailand and China. And you know that in Asia, the e-commerce boom is really crazy, really crazy. I will finally end this European overview with a focus on the semiconductor sector. And with a first slide that shows really that now digital data is everywhere. And it's at the heart of innovation in factories, in warehouses, in all production and set processes. It optimizes the functioning of all the online commercial sites, and it's at the heart of digital marketing, guiding consumer choices. And digital data is everywhere: connected mobility, electric cars, all the new generation of telcos with the 5G that is now ready to be launched in France, for instance. It's at the heart also of the massive computing needs for artificial intelligence, which is developing at great speed everywhere. And coming back to the medical tech sector, its digital data is also more than ever a source of innovation in that area, where now digital data is really central for all analysis and diagnostic equipment. That all those equipment, like the chemometec, for instance, I've shown, integrate sensors, automation, and software. And in the end, everything is sensors, digital data, calculation processes. And all this would not be possible without the semiconductors. And here again, Europe is fortunate to have leading players along the value chain of semiconductor production. And of course, all the semis are produced in Asia, but they are using, beyond US equipment, they are using European one. And ASML, yes, ASML is a very good example. Now it's a big company, but when I started in the business, it was a small cap actually. And this company started as small cap. I was invested in the one at that time, and the company has been able to become the world champion of lithography, and had succeeded, as you see, to kill the market and to supplant every competitors, particularly the Japanese one at that time, and now is the absolute leader in his field. He's the key player in digital innovation and all the semiconductor progress that we have. I put that slide. It's a bit of fun because just to show you that now, if you don't use the SML technology, with the SML technology, we have an iPhone, and without an SML technology, we would have only we will still we'll be still using Blackberries. And it's very impressive because the complexity that we have now in the semiconductors makes that machines more and more pricey. And an ASML machine for the lithography of the wafers today is worth 200 million euros, meaning that it's more than the cost of an Airbus A380. So it's really crazy. It's just to remind you that Intel is investing 15 to 20 billion euro a year into machines for the semi industry. That's a massive, massive, massive industry. And ASML has been a fantastic example of a growth, super high growth company. But there are opportunities in that area. And once again, in Europe, we have good companies along the value chain of the production of the semis. We have ASM International, which is present in the chip production phase. So it's high technical. There are deposit layers at the atomic level on the wafers for more precise lithography. And you have BE Semiconductor, BESI, which sells machines for the packaging of the chips, adding connectors, for instance, for example, and making them suitable to be integrated into a printed circuit. And actually, the continuous increase in the number of transistors, smaller and smaller, that you have on a chip, to 5 or 3 nanometers, as they say, will generate such a complexity that more upstream and downstream machine, upstream for ISME or downstream for BESI machines, will be needed, offering these companies a growth of their addressable market in the years to come. So it will be not a story as ASML in term of increase of the value of the specific machines, but for instance, the next generation of the BESI machine on the right could go from 400,000 euro to 2.3 million euros per unit because of the evolution of technological needs. So that could change really the kind of growth journey of this company for the years to come. So it's very, very impressive. There's a lot of other company in that area in Europe, but my idea was really to focus on those two ones that actually react very well to the announcement of the massive investment that Intel is going to do for the years to come in its production facilities. It's the conclusion of the presentation. And I hope that you found this presentation of a few companies and sector representative of the European innovation dynamic interesting. Of course, this presentation does not pretend to be exhaustive. And the idea was really to just focus on a couple of sectors and examples. But we can find great companies with growth and value creation profiles in all sectors, companies in which to invest with a true long-term vision. And to maybe contextualize the presentation in this time of pandemic in regards to the operational performance of those companies during the recent quarters and years. I have to say that a lot of those companies have been able to continue to see their business grow during the crisis, of course, such as medical technology stocks, because they were at the heart of the need of health systems, or digital innovation stocks, because the rapid adoption of their digital tools has allowed companies to continue their activities. Others suffered more during the peak of the pandemic, but are rapidly recovering now, with new orders accelerating again. I mentioned the interval recovery in order intake, and a lot of companies in the industrial software and automation are seeing this kind of acceleration of order intake, normalization of order intake, and of course, thanks to a lot to the buoyant Chinese recovery dynamic. And the other important element to highlight, I think, that we have noted during the last couple of quarters is the fact that a lot of those companies have been able to improve a lot in terms of operating margins. And this is really visible in the latest results for many of them, and the good level of cash generation. It has not been a financial crisis. It has been a crisis of demand because of the lockdown. But in terms of financing, things are going well. And as I said, the margins have increased a lot during the pandemic. Of course, even if part of this improvement is linked to the end of business travel and representation expenses, I really think that the increase in the use of software and digital tools like Zoom, like Teams, and all those tools in their production and sales processes will enable them to retain part of this operating cost reduction. And to conclude, I would say that I'm very impressed by the market dynamics and the fast recovery that we have, because the underlying demands are really strong in the kind of sectors that I comment. And I think that indeed all these companies are in very good financial health. It's totally the opposite of what we had in 2008 or 9. And I think that things should be all right, and those companies should benefit from any economic normalization for the quarters and years to come. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Cyrille. It was quite interesting. And well, I have some questions over here, plus the ones that come via the chat. And well, the first one is about it's super interesting at this moment to have knowledge about what's happening on the biotech production sector, of course, because of the vaccine productions that right now is probably the main concern worldwide. So what are your thoughts about that? It's clear that that given the current situation, there's a deficit of capacity about the current needs of vaccine production. So suddenly we all need 2 shots of vaccines worldwide, which wasn't the case previously, and it wasn't as that in the world history. So this is an exceptional time. So what are your thoughts about the current deficit of production, of capacity, given the current situation, and what will happen after everyone gets vaccinated, if that won't lead to a superávit of an excess production capacity? How the industry will think about manage all the demand, all the demand that we face currently, and how it will adapt on the future when that demand stabilizes again? What's your how you think the industry is facing that challenge?
Yeah, my vision is that there has been a lack of investment worldwide in this sector of drug production, and we are talking about vaccine, but even day-to-day drug production is very, for instance, here in Europe, during the pandemic, we understood that a large part of the drugs that we are using in Europe were produced in Asia, actually. So
Yes.
there's more than just the vaccines, there's an issue of localization of production. And you see that with the vaccine, this is a real issue. The localization, the logistics that has been needed to send those new messenger RNA-based vaccines that need to be transported at very low temperatures from the US to Europe. So it's a nightmare of logistics. So I think
Yes.
that we are in a situation where on TV every day in France, we are talking about doubts, 24-hour a day, about the problem of supply of vaccines or not, and if the government did well in terms of investment or not. So I think that for every government on the planet, it will be key to prove that we will have all the capacity needs in terms of healthcare systems first. So I think that there will be massive investment in digital transition and in the healthcare systems to be sure that if we have another kind of pandemic like this, we will have it will be a matter of political re-election, I think, for the government, and it will be judged regarding this. And regarding the vaccines, once again, we used to have, for instance, in France, every year a vaccine for the flu, for the elderly people, with more than 70-year-old people. They need to have the flu, but maybe that the COVID-19 pandemic will become like a flu vaccine that we will need every year because of a new variant. And maybe everywhere in the world, you will need to have a yearly vaccine to be able to go abroad. And it may become something like as a flu vaccine. And I think that all those capacities that are created now will be used for that. I think that it could become something like this. What is impressive, I showed this example of Sartori Stadium because, for instance, last year, the growth in 2020, the company started with a guidance of growth of plus 15% in terms of organic growth for the year. At the end of the year, during the last quarter, the growth was 46% in terms of organic growth. It's totally crazy. And the company started the year with a new guidance, which was plus 20 to plus 26. 3 weeks later, the company said, well, okay, now our guidance is for more than 38% growth. So I think that, governments have obvious knowledge that there's a lack of capacity of production that is really obvious, and they are investing a lot now. And we can say that in the US, they invest a lot into the vaccine research and production. They invest like the US did. They put a large amount of money on the table to find a solution, because every day of lockdown is cost so much to the economy that you can put a lot of money on the table. We did not that in Europe, and there was no much money put on the table for the research and for the production. I think this is what is happening now, and now I think that it will change the world for the healthcare systems. And as I said, I think that we need obvious relocalization of production in every areas. We cannot just count on production from Asia, on the US for Europe, and on costly logistics. So I think we will do it fine. I think. I think that it's just like for the digital innovation. We've moved a step ahead in terms of understanding, in terms of needs, of investment in the area of medicine and hospitals, for instance, in Europe need huge investments, and I think that we will have it. Digital transition is really key for once again the government of the states. So no, I think that we are now for a couple of years of investment into infrastructure globally. And what is interesting also, I have to mention for the worldwide listeners of this call is that for the first time, the recovery plan that has been voted by the European Union is really dedicated to innovation. So it's really a climate transition and digital transition. It's really focused on innovative industries. It's not just to help all the industries to survive. It's really focus on the future, and I think that that's crucial for us. And that's why I think it will be very supportive for all those innovation worldwide.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cyrille. And we have another question from Joel from Andorra. He says, that his question is, how do you manage company valuations? If you could put an example of some company you like, but there is not in your portfolio because of its price, if there is one, and basically how you manage the valuations of the companies. Mm-hmm. It's at the chat, the question.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't have specific example, but indeed, how I do the evaluation work. The idea is that I invest only in companies where I can really address what the company will become within a 3 to 5 year time. The idea is not to understand what a company is today, as we are in the small and mid-cap area, with companies that can double, triple, quadruple their sales in a couple of years. So the idea is not to understand what a company is today, but what a company can become in terms of size, in terms of operating margins that can move up a lot, in terms of cash generation, and what I will be ready to pay for this kind of new, bigger companies, less risky companies in a couple of years. So I have to be able to do that to modelize the growth journey of the company and to assess what could be worth the company and what I would be willing to pay in terms of valuation ratio in a couple of years, 3 to 5 years. This is the normal kind of work I'm doing. And indeed, if I find a company very interesting, but there is no potential in terms of valuation in this kind of 3 to 5 year vision, I will not invest. So I don't have a specific example of companies that I've not invested in, but indeed, I'm working on stocks. I do the homework in terms of understanding the business model and what kind of organic growth, acquisitive growth, margins, cash, capital, capex needs, and cash generation at the very end. And sometimes, indeed, I don't invest for a valuation ratio reason. Because there is not enough potential. But I have to say that what is interesting when you invest into high growth companies is that, for instance, I have a company in my funds, and the company is growing, and maybe sometimes the company is a bit overshooting in terms of performance, and maybe the valuation is a bit high. So, well, that's fine. The idea is that maybe this company will just derate for some times or consolidate for some times, but the growth that the company will be able to generate in the coming years will recreate valuation potential and stock performance potential. So when you invest in those kind of areas, and it was the case, I've been investing, for instance, in Statoil Stadium since I do the job, and sometimes, yeah, the stock was just overshooting because the operating performance was really fantastic, and the stock jumped at that time, and valuation, the day-to-day valuation was a bit high, but I said, well, fine, it will consolidate a bit, and then it will once again join his growth journey. So most of the time, this is what I do. I'm just it's really very buy and hold methodology, thinking really long term. Sometimes it overshoot, sometimes it undershoot because of external factors we don't have control on. But I don't care. I don't move. I just check for the execution, the right execution of the strategy, and the effective, the real value creation, operating value creation of the company. And I do this kind of job of maintenance, to talking to the management every time I can, to check that things the market is right, that the strategy is well executed. Most of the time, actually, those companies are able to grow faster than expected, because once you, for instance, enter a new market, it's always difficult. For instance, if you want to enter the US, you have to find the right product, the right go-to-market with the right managers there, so it can take time. But once you find the right setup, you can grow a lot very fast. And this is what happened for a lot of companies in my funds. So yeah, this is the way I do. And of course, I don't invest into concept stocks. So for instance, there's a lot of climate change related stocks in Europe that have been very strong performers during the recent years, because there is a lot of investment in that area, and it's obvious that we would need a lot of investment in the field of energy infrastructure worldwide and in Europe. But as I'm absolutely not able to set what could be a growth, a margin, or capex needs and cash generation of those ones for the years to come, even if I know that it's an attractive theme of investment, I cannot invest in those stocks because I cannot set, modelize, and do a proper valuation of those names. So when things are in the concept mode, I cannot invest with my process. I only invest into companies that have product that exist with markets, with margins, and that are in that kind of growth and accelerating phase of their story.
Excellent, Cyrille. And finally, I have another question. Given that lots of the participants are here at Mexico and Latin America, how is your view and the view from Europe of the region? I know that your portfolio is focused on other regions, but we would really like to hear about your point of view of how the region, Mexico and Latin America region, looks from your perspective, and which are the opportunities and challenges that we face ahead.
That's tough. That's tough for me. I traveled in Latin America in only a couple of countries. not in Mexico, unfortunately. Travel in Colombia and Chile and Peru, because in my former business, I used to have a lot of investors in that area. No, actually, I was very impressed by the level of education and level of, I think that Europeans that don't travel to South America globally, I would say, are not aware of the level of development of those countries. And it was very impressive to see how people in all those countries have were very high skills and a high level of education. And it was a great surprise, I think, because maybe in Europe, when you look at the TV, South America is always maybe underrated, I think. And I think that I don't know Mexico, but Colombia, for instance, it was a shock. The transformation of the country in a couple of years. That was very, very, I have to say, very impressive. All maybe there are some dependency for some countries regarding commodity prices and those kind of things.
Yes,
that's make the economy not always easy. But there is obvious potential there, and I don't know. I think that once again, innovation is everywhere. Innovation will ease and will come everywhere, and South America will be the same, I think. But I think you're correct to the fact that maybe we don't talk that much about South America countries, and we have maybe not the right the vision of what this area has become.
Okay. Well, and I think you could, if you went to Colombia, to Peru, and Chile, you have a pretty good guidance about how Mexico will look about the financial sector. We are all the four countries. We are on the Pacific Alliance. Chile is the star, as always, in the financial development field. We in Mexico, we have the advantage of the medium-sized economy. So well, it's super interesting always to hear about the perspective of how does it look from the outside. And well, I think I don't know. I think that will be all the questions. I'm not sure if someone else from the audience would like to open just the microphone and ask something. Okay, perfect. So I think we're more than on time. It was like a really an interesting perspective about how about the strategies that you follow, about what's at the back of the different companies from the different sectors, and to know about the details behind about the numbers, about this, about what's going on at the region. And well, thank you a lot, Cyrille. We're delighted at the CFO Society Mexico to keep track of what's going on, about future projects that we may, future talks that we may develop later. I would like to thank about Alex, intermediation, the coordination that Guillermina Pagasa from our side had, and well, you have in Mexico we have this saying that mi casa es tu casa, our home is your home. Whenever you're around here, please just let us know, and we will be more than delighted to show you around. And well, we are recording this session, so Guille could will upload it, and to all the participants, thank you very much for being online. We hope that you, well, we're sure you found it more than quite interesting information we covered. And thank you, Cyrille. Thank you, because it's quite late over at Europe. We're at lunchtime over here, so
yeah, it's 9:30 at night.
Exactly. So, well, have a good dinner. Have a good
absolutely
a good night. We're having lunch over here, and well, I'm not sure if Guille or someone else has to want to add something.